Holy Gospel according to John. Praise you, O Lord. Jesus is speaking, and he says, peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. The Gospel of the Lord. You may be seated. You ever found yourself in the spot where you wish you got that email, or you got that letter, you got a mountaintop sign, this is what God has in store for you? Wouldn't it be nice? So, all going through seminary, it was always difficult to figure out where God was leading me. But what I started reflecting upon with a good friend of mine was that wherever I am comfortable, God is about to change things. Because I described it as, I'm laying that frying pan. Oh, this is nice and warm. It's toasty. This is a good spot to be in. But notice I said a frying pan. You've heard that old adage, you can take that frog and put them in a pot and slowly turn up the heat and boil them. Well, God doesn't work that way with me. And it doesn't work that way often with many of us as we reflect and think back. So I was telling this friend of mine, I said, I'm laying there comfortable in this pan and, everything's good, it's toasty and warm, and then all of a sudden God goes, busts the pan. And next thing I know, I'm running because it hurts, it's hot, and I got to change. So next thing I know, she sends me this icon that says, Pastor Pants on Fire. Well, that's this morning, too, because I was not expecting to preach today. Pastor Daniel was expected to preach this morning. But God knows what God is doing, and we have to trust that God has our backs. God will take care of us. You hear, he says, I have plans for you to prosper. No harm, but prosper. The thing is, do we believe that? Do we wholeheartedly take that in and believe that God has plans for us to prosper? It's hard sometimes when we're in the midst of things to actually take that in, isn't it? You ever had a time where you go, really? This is what you have for me, God? Well, it's not that piece. It's maybe later. But sometimes when we go through things because God does not put us there, we go through things at difficult times, we learn from that. So my son was caught at school freshman year as the police were patting everybody down. And they found on him a lighter. You go, yeah. Well, there's more to it. There's always more to it. You know those, forget what they call them, but those silver ones, and has a cotton in the bottom, you fill with butane. Well, he had pulled all that out. Inside of it was 3 razor blades. So now he is in trouble for having razor blades at school. He gets sent down to the principal's office, where now they also go through his wallet. And they find his suicide note. You see that coming? But God has plans. So in the midst of that, I get a phone call, and I don't know anything about this. I get this off second hand from my wife. And she comes, calls me up, and of course, whenever anything bad happens, I am nowhere near where it is going on. I am 2.5 hours away at a client because I was doing IT work. What are we going to do? So she gets called down to the principal's office. Any parent been called to the principal's office? Don't want to put your hands up, huh? And I get on speakerphone, and this is what I hear the principal say. Your son has razor blades. He is expelled from school. I'm sorry, but you're telling me about a suicide note and razor blades, and your concern is expelling my son from school? I said, he needs help. Well, that's up to you. I said, call an ambulance, have him come in right now. Take him out of here. Oh, we don't want to do that because we don't want to disrupt the school. I'm sorry, you're worried about disrupting the school? I'm worried about my son. I'm worried about our lives, his life. Now what do I do next? Well, God had plans. Multiple plans. This is where God says He wants us to prosper. So out of all of this tragedy, there is going to be good. Well, first of all, my son's still alive. He received help, not thanks to the school. But what I did was I called my pastor. What am I going to do? My pastor was out of town. I'm feeling like my butt's on fire. What am I going to do? So I called another pastor that I know. And he said, I'm out of town. But he said, call Patrick. Now, Patrick is somebody that was in my diakonia classes that this pastor knew and I knew, we knew together. I said, why Patrick? He said, remember, he's a patient advocate over Central DuPage Hospital. Oh, yes. So I called Patrick and I said, here's what's going on. I need help. And so Patrick says, I can help you. He says, I am going to call you back in less than 10 minutes. I am going to talk to the head of the psych ward and have your son convicted. He said, this guy doesn't take patients anymore, but he will for me. So he called me back less than 10 minutes, and I told my wife to get him over to Central DuPage Hospital. So she transported our son over to Central DuPage. When she got there, and I'm still not very young, I am about a half hour behind her getting there. When she pulls up to the ER entrance, my son gets ready to bolt because he knows what is going to happen. He's no dummy. My son's got 192 IQ. He is no dummy. And God had plans. Doug Brazen, who my son and I played softball with over at Lutheran Church of the Master, was the security guard that morning, standing outside as she was coming up. Oh, I can't run from Doug. So he didn't. And he tells us this later. He said, I'm not going to run from Doug. I mean, no, and Doug's big. And Doug's fast. So he allowed himself to be taken into the ER. Normally, on a commitment, it takes about 2 to 3 hours to have somebody committed. It took less than 30 minutes. I got there, we were taking him upstairs to the ward. Everything had been done because Patrick took care of it, because God took care of it with Patrick. So that Travis would be okay. We had him committed, and he was there about 3 months, going to school, and because I had a conversation with the principal afterwards. Yeah, betcha I did. As a former police officer, I laid a few things out for him. And I said, you had no resources for me whatsoever. You had no resources for my son. You had one thing on your mind, which was pick my son out. That's not acceptable. So God had plans. We had this conversation, and guess what came out of that? A big old resource book that we approved. We gave them the resources that they needed so that next time something like this happens, they can care for somebody versus tossing somebody. Places to call, things to do, instead of just saying, well, he's gone, he's your problem. God had plans. So the next kids will be taken care of. Because God has plans for us to prosper. Prosper. Even at a secular school. Imagine that. But it gets even better. My son did really, really well. He started to do really well because of the care he received. Now, at the time, I was a deacon, and I had 2 grandparents come up to me to talk to me because they were very distressed. Their grandson was having some problems, and they thought he was suicidal. And they didn't know what to do. God had plans, because we've been through this. So I referred him to the same doctor. Because of the referral, he took him in. He was taken care of by God through this doctor, through the hospital, because God wants us to prosper. He doesn't just toss us out there into the wind. God gives the tools. God cares for us and loves us. God's got each of your backs. That's my back. Do you believe God has your back? Do you believe God has your back? Then trust in the Lord. Walk in the Lord's ways, because He will make you prosper. So you have some homework today. To look and see where God is active in your life and other people's lives, and help walk with them and yourself, following the Lord. Miracles happen all the time, and this is what Martin Luther says. They happen all the time. We just need to believe in them. My son being alive is a miracle. That was the most horrific day in our family's life. In fact, it was so bad after my son was there for a month, my daughter was firmly convinced that he was dead, and we were hiding it. She was 10. You gotta understand, her nickname for him, because she couldn't say brother, was Buddy. But then it became her buddy. So a 10-year-old is not supposed to be up on that word. But the doctor said, we need to take care of her. So she went up there to see him. She checks in on him, even today. It was her buddy. We prosper because of the plans that God knows for each and every one of you. Walk, look, listen,